In our teen class a few weeks ago, we looked at a verse that caused some consternation amongst the group. That verse is 2 Samuel chapter 6, verses 6 and 7. And when they came to the threshing floor of Nacon, Uzzah put out his hand to the ark of God and took hold of it, for the oxen stumbled. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Uzzah, and God struck him down there because of his error, and he died there beside the ark of God. The interesting thing is, along with this verse, we actually looked at the account of Ananias and Sapphira in the New Testament also. Many in the class felt that the punishment of Ananias and Sapphira was warranted and just because they had lied. But they were less sure about this punishment of Uzzah. They said that the only thing that Uzzah had done was a natural reaction, reaching out to steady the ark. Harsh punishment, definitely. Although unjust or unwarranted, definitely not. Our problem is we tend to make ourselves and our own desires, our experiences, and our thoughts our center. That is the wrong mindset. The first words in our Bible, in the beginning, God. God was before the beginning because he is outside of time. He created the beginning. These are the most important words in the Bible when it comes to what we need to consider about God, because they remind us of his rightful place compared to our place. God's rightful place is in the center of our thoughts, center of our hearts, center of our minds. When we try to move him out of his rightful place is when we mess up. What we forget about the story of Uzzah is that the dwelling place of God is what he touched. The ark was called the seat of God, and it was being transported in a way that could rightly be considered a wheelbarrow, a cart pulled by oxen. They were taking something sacred and treating it as anything but sacred. Oh, there was a lot of excitement, there was a lot of joy, but they weren't treating the dwelling place of God as sacred. And as a result, Uzzah paid the price, didn't he? They were ignoring the command that was laid out of how to transport something sacred, the ark. And they were ignoring the fact that God's place is centered and must be revered. Now let me ask you a question. Where is God's dwelling place today? 1 Corinthians chapter 3 verses 16 and 17 tells us, "Do you not know that you are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in you? If anyone destroys God's temple, God will destroy him. For God's temple is holy, and you are that temple." We have heard this verse and read this verse so often, I think it has lost some of its power unless we understand it in the light of in the beginning God and the sacredness of that God places on his dwelling place. I am not shocked that God, who was the center, the creator in the beginning, would demand sacredness for his dwelling place, even if that demand resulted in the death of someone who did not treat that dwelling place as sacred. I am shocked, though, that God would choose to make us, me, his dwelling place. And even more so, I am shocked that God would sacrifice his son in order to purify that dwelling place. My response really should only be to remember in the beginning God. Remember his rightful place as God and keep him the center of my life and do everything that I can to keep his dwelling place sacred. How about that for taking 6 minutes to center? Thank you, and we'll see you next week.